let's get started because I'm very, very excited to be able to talk to everybody today. So hi, I'm Emma Smith. I'm Head of Talent at Creative Assembly, and this is my lovely colleague Josephine Williams. I call her Joey. Everybody in studio calls her Joey. So that's how I'm going to refer to her today. And my pronouns are she, her. So do refer to me with that there. We are going to do a bit of a reveal, a little bit about Creative Assembly, about the games industry, stuff that you think you might know, but maybe you don't. Because I appreciate this is our first time at National Student Pride, and we're so excited and so happy to be here and to be able to talk to everybody about our industry, because people think that it's something, but it's very, very different. And it's fun and exciting. And Joey's got such a brilliant story about how she came to our industry, and we're going to be able to share that with you today. So for some of you who don't know much about Creative Assembly, I'm going to tell you right now. We're a game studio. We're one of the oldest and most established games companies. We've been making games for 34 years this year, which is a really long time for a games company. We're based in Horsham, in West Sussex. If you don't know where it is, give it the old Google. We're not far from London, and we're not far from Brighton, so we have the best of both worlds there. And it's a really lovely place. We have nearly 800 developers at Creative Assembly. It's kind of Horsham's best kept secret, but you know, we come out and we tumble out in our lunch breaks and really get into our local community as well. And we're a big part of our wonderful British games industry as well. Some of our games, some of you might have played, some of you may not, but if you haven't, I recommend you do. Get on out there and get our games. We're best known for our Total War franchise, which Joey works well with, has done for some time. We've got our Total War historical element. We also work with fantasy as well. We also have our console development team. They've made games such as Viking, Alien Isolation, Halo Wars, and now working on a super secret squirrel IP, which is a little bit amazing, and hopefully you should hear a little bit more about that over time. But I wanted to be able to talk a little bit more as well about some of the myths and misconceptions about games. So some of you that are on this session, you very well might think that you have to be a programmer to work in the games industry. You can be lots of different things working in the games industry. You could be an artist, you can be a writer, you can be a designer, you can be a PR and marketing expert, which is something that Joe will be able to talk a little bit more about. We've got a brilliant HR team, we've got finance, we've got leadership positions. You like making sure everything happens on time, and people tell you bossy, then, you know, production and development management is absolutely the role for you. So there's something for everybody in the games industry. So, you know, don't believe all of that hype. And also there's a sense as well that the games industry is not inclusive. It absolutely is. We have lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds at Creative Assembly, and our industry is very rich and diverse. We have 34 different nationalities at Creative Assembly, but something that that doesn't get picked up very often, and something I think that we really should celebrate, is in the UK census for our industry recently, where we looked at the demographics of our whole industry. Around about 24% of the people that work in the UK games industry come from the LGBTQI plus community, and that's something that we're really proud of, that people can come to work in our industry, and especially at Creative Assembly, and be your true authentic self, and you can bring that to work and be happy and comfortable and really thrive in that environment. And that's something that I really wanted to shout from the rafters today. And at CA, we're on a mission to really kick the doors open for the next generation of for our industry, because we can only thrive when we evolve, and those people are you. You're the key to making our industry continue to thrive, evolve, and be endlessly creative. And that's why I'm here, to try and tempt you to come to us. But to be able to do that, I wanted to share Joey's brilliant story with you. So let's dive straight in, Joey. I wanted to be able to find, actually, your role is lead brand manager, and some people might not know exactly what a brand manager is. So do you want to share in a nutshell what exactly is your job? What is that?
Yeah. In a nutshell, brand management is about, when you think about big brands, you think about stuff like Nike, Nike. What does that mean to you? You've got a vision in your head, you've got a logo, you've got a kind of vibe and some few key words. And brand management is about, curating and holding that brand and image in everything that you do across the board. So broadly speaking, that's brand management. In the games industry, and particularly in what I do, it's hugely creative in terms of the amount of input I get to have in things. So, I'm the brand manager for Total War, specifically Total War Warhammer 3, which is a new game franchise, or game title as part of a bigger franchise. And it's really about how that sits within the previous games, what we're doing now, how it's slightly different, but an evolution of that. And, everything that goes on the internet goes online. I have to look at it, touch it in some respect and format and go, yep, that's hitting the brand message, the brand targets, and the vision that we have collectively. There's some nuance to that because obviously when we're working with an IP, of which I've worked on our own IP stuff, our historical games as well. But Games Workshop, they're a key part of working with us, and it's maintaining and being a shield and guardian for their brand as well as our brand. So, merging the two together to create this strong marriage and something that kind of complements the two things.
The work that you do, making sure the brand is recognizable, but also, with what Games Workshop have in mind. So where you are now, thinking all the way back, is that actually what you wanted to be when you grew up? How did you arrive right there?
It's a tale of the ages. I actually started off as a YouTuber. So back when I was about 20, 21, I was a single parent. I was a big World of Warcraft nerd. And I wanted to kind of have a fresh start to life, in a sense, and have some building blocks and some foundations. So as you do, I moved across the country from where I lived in Kent to Devon, and I wanted to be more socially engaged. I wanted to, which I'm sure we can all appreciate in this context, I wanted to get off the screen. I wanted to get out in person, but keeping with that nerd interest that I had. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, that kind of big lore and world building factor, and Warhammer was perfect for that. You can still make your own individual mark on, a miniature, how you paint it, what's its backstory. It's a little bit role play meets big strategy. And so I made a YouTube channel because it was quite difficult to understand, to learn it really, unless you had quite a lot of time, which as parents we don't, to get under the skin of it. So basically I use my YouTube channel as a learning portal to both learn how to play, how to paint, because it's a two-part hobby, as it were. You've got the painting and the hobby building side of things, and you can just do that if you love it. Or you can paint and play with in tournaments, which I eventually did. And that's how I got into, loosely speaking, the Warhammer franchise itself. I was a bit of an advocate for it as a fan for a few years, and built up a kind of female perspective, not the only female voice, but one of the main ones at the time. We're talking about 8, 9, 10 years ago, aging myself. But it was important to me because there were no female representatives that I could really talk to. It was quite a male-dominated hobby, or at least it was. So I wanted to understand it, and I wanted to break down those barriers a little bit through being a friendly, nerdy, approachable face with some awkward humour, which seems to work well. And at the time, to answer your question, what I was looking at was really that presenter skill, was that kind of front-facing, how do I get my personality across and my energy across and get people on board with something and make it less of an awkward, whenever you learn something, there's an element of shame in that, right? Like, you don't know how to do that? And it's like, no, and that's fine. Teach me, help me. So I wanted to break that down. And so from doing that for a few years, I kind of was met with a little bit of suspicion, like, do you really like it? what are you in this for? And I ended up kind of really getting quite a nice fan base, so to speak, or community, I think is probably a better word. And I would go and do around the country and Europe and do some tournaments. It was the first time I ever went to America, which leads me to the Creative Assembly joining story. I got through the YouTube channel. I had some representatives, some community managers from Total War reach out to me via Twitter and YouTube to say, we like your channel, we like what you're doing here, because I managed my own brand. I had my own logos, some theme music, and they wanted me to put my CV in for an interview. And classically, imposter syndrome kind of comes into play. Was like, sure, but I'm a YouTuber and a waitress, so I could put my CV in, but I don't think it's going anywhere. But I did, I sent it in. I had absolutely no real hope that I was going to get a job working with Creative Assembly and therefore Sega from what I was doing, and a single parent. That was, it was a pie in the sky dream, not something that felt realistic. So in between my interview, which I managed to get, and I was like, sure, why not? I'll go to this. Emma was actually there. And I
was there.
I was there when Gondor fell. I think maybe my energy was quite, let's give this a go, because I had, as I say, not a strong indication I was going to get a job. So I thought, let's be authentic, which funnily enough is one of the Total War and Creative Assembly pillars, authenticity. Let me be authentic to myself. Let me talk about who I am, what I do, what my motivations are. And it was about 2-3 months before I actually heard back, because it was quite a long interview period for the role. And the role itself was as a community manager for Total War Warhammer, which was unannounced, and it wouldn't be announced for another 2 years at that point. But I had suspicions because of my channel and the content of what I did. And in between that time, I went to America by myself for the first time for a Warhammer tournament. I was absolutely jet lagged, and I came back after a week away in Chicago, and I got a call from Emma, and she said, I'll do a reenactment. Hi, this is Emma from Creative Assembly. And I'm like, yeah, you left your scarf and got the job. I'm like, oh, yes.
It is one of the best things about working in recruitment and talent acquisition is calling people and telling them that they've got a job. But I was so confident that you had the job and you left your scarf. I knew I could keep it and give it back to you in person. So I'm yeah, sorry for freaking you out on that call, but it was a real joy. It was a real joy to be able to offer that job to you. And I remember the room, and the interview, and there were lots of different characteristics, and their authenticity is absolutely something that I felt really shone through for you. But what other qualities do you think helped you stand out as somebody new coming in, especially for the attendees today, to understand perhaps what they could use to shine through in interviews they may be having now, or starting to think about how they can do that?
I think 3 things are quite key at an initial stage, especially if you don't feel deserving, if you don't feel confident, is humility, self-awareness, and honesty. These things are so important, because even now, I'm 32 and a lead brand manager, and I've spent 8 years at Creative Assembly. I don't know everything. I'm not expected to know everything, but I am expected to be honest about what I do and don't know, for myself as well as for the people around me, because I now lead a brand, and I lead a small team. So that's important, because without that acknowledgement within yourself, you can't, there's just defensiveness in its place. And, you know, sometimes you'll come up against in an interview or in these moments where you have to kind of present yourself or push yourself forward for something that you're not quite sure you feel worthy of, is that neither does anyone else. And anyone that's kind of putting this front on or getting defensive, it's just a mechanism really to kind of shield from that fear and that doubt. But that's okay, because it's useful. It's okay to look at and go, yeah, I don't know that, but I want to learn that. And then I'll know that to be able to tell someone else and teach them so they don't feel this way. So I'd say those things are really important. And I think, as I say, where I wasn't necessarily expecting the interview to go anywhere, I was just those things. I was like, single parent, I'm a waitress, I do YouTube, I'm learning.
What was it like in the studio? Like, what is it? What you thought it would be like? And then what's the culture like? How would you describe it?
So I came into work because I was commuting for the first 6 months during my probation. Obviously, we're in a different world now, you know. I plan to be commuting again, funnily enough. But at the time, it was a long train journey up. And I got up at 4:30 in the morning to get a 5:45 train to get there for 8:30.
No one should get up at that time unless they're going on a plane on holidays.
Agreed. But I was in a shirt and a skirt and some nice shoes. So I look quite smart, and I rock up to the studio, forgetting that it's a development studio. So while I am in marketing, typically publishers and marketeers are kind of in a different space, in a different office. A creative assembly, we're uniquely placed within the development teams to go over and chat to the artists and chat to the designers and go, sorry, what are we making? Right, okay, great. And we can have those conversations directly. But everyone was very casual. And, you know, don't get me wrong, there's degrees of that. But what I mean is everyone was wearing their own kind of comfortable clothes, representing themselves. There were some people, you know, one of our PR ladies, she is a Parisian lady, and she is dressed immaculately every day. I very much go with the flow as to how I'm feeling that particular day, but it was so free and open. There were some guys in some flip-flops and some surfer shorts, and he still wears that even in the depths of winter. So, you know, it is very much a place and space where it is a home away from home. I miss it greatly, but that was something that really surprised me about what I was walking into, expecting such an image and vision of corporate life, when actually it was a lot more like, you know, little groups and families and friends within their respective disciplines. So it was mind-blowing. The first week was quite mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I think we talk about the CA family a lot. We've been able to retain that small studio feel, even though we've got to nearly 800 people. It's been quite a change, but the one thing that's remained the same is the fantastic people that we work with as well. And every day they blow my mind with the level of creativity we see, whether it's, you know, a piece of concept art through to, you know, being able to punch a few keys in a keyboard and create the sky and make it look completely different.
Or go to the mocap studio because they, you know, they want a particular set. You know, there's so many things. And, you know, there's a comment here from Miles on coming from a different background and working class background. I'm very much from a working class background, and I think that's, you know, I think that's a difficult balance to strike when you're like, I couldn't possibly be in the corporate world. And, you know, I was very upfront about that myself, to be like, can I? Do you wanna? And ultimately, it's about the perspective that you bring. And being from a working class background, I can say with confidence that I am cheap. So, you know, being in marketing, for me, what's important is being consumer oriented, not the bottom line and revenue oriented. It's how do we get the best brand health by being there for the consumer, the player itself. Like, what do they get out of this situation? We're not just a game, we're a brand, we're, you know, an experience. And our game in particular, you spend hundreds and thousands of hours in Total War, and you can, you know, start again in your campaign. It'd be a completely unique experience every time, depending, you know, there's so much time that you can invest. how do we make that a rewarding experience? You know, for me, I'm not inherently, I don't know if anyone here has watched Parks and Recreation, but if so, I'm the Ron Swanson of marketing. Like, how he feels about the government, I feel about marketing. So it's not about that. It's about being that that fighter from the inside for something that is better and for people.
Yeah, and absolutely. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, you know, we get it at CA, but it's that cognitive diversity. It's having that richness of different perspectives on how we do those things, and also coming from you know, working class background. I'm from Wales, and where I live in Wales, there is nothing. I mean, nothing. It's 360 degrees of rolling hills, and actually the village I'm from in English translates to desolate heap of stones, so that
Wow.
might give you a bit of, yeah, all right, give you a bit of an insight into just actually what it was really like. And quite often people say, you know, if you can see it, then you can make it. Well, I couldn't see it. And I think for a lot of people still, they still can't see it. And even if they see it, they still don't feel like it's somewhere that they are deserved of. And even there are times now where I think, oh my God, wow, I still can't grasp that I've got to where I am. I think that when I picked up the award for Legacy Project last year at the Games Industry Best Places to Work Awards, the words that popped out of my mouth were not on the piece of paper that our comms director told me to say, and it was things like this don't happen to kids from the valleys, because I couldn't believe that this was happening. But my plea to all of you out there is to, you know, find someone that inspires you, and find out their story, and find the people that you know will give you the winds beneath your wings to help you soar, because they are there. I want to see people get on. I know that Joey will do everything that she can to help people get forward as well. Just on that, actually, Joe, who inspires you? Who is your inspiration?
Through time, there've been many different people. I mean, the notorious RBG from a female perspective, what a pioneer. But at the moment, as a leader, I'm really inspired by a guy called Simon Sinek. So he talks about the he's done lots of TED Talks. I really encourage you to kind of give him a look, and to it's about his perspective on leaders and leadership. So this is something that's quite dear to my heart at the moment, but he relates the experience of being in the military, and what he does is kind of go to corporations all across America and maybe the world to talk about how to build a better corporate atmosphere, and you know how to build those bonds and who are the best leaders. And he really does talk about it being from a familial perspective almost. You know, it's not about the thing that you do, it's about the people who are around you to do the thing that you do. Without them, you can't do it either. So, you know, that's true. It doesn't matter where you come from or, you know, what orientation you are. In any respect, it's about the fact that not everyone's going to have that perspective, have those opinions, and that's important to bring that forward. So Simon Sinek's a great one for me.
Yeah, fantastic, really good. You can look up his talks on YouTube and the TEDx channel as well. So before we go to our Q&A, because this time has absolutely gone so quickly, and if you want to start loading in any questions that you have on the Q&A or in the chat, then we can talk them through. But what advice would you give to our graduates and the people listening now?
Just, I'd say to, in true gamer terms, think of yourself in this moment as like a character sheet. So like, I don't know if you play Fallout or you played World of Warcraft or you play any kind of game, but when you start a game, any game, you are not max level. And that is by design. And, you know, I'd say when you're going into anything new or you're leaving university to go into the job and the working world, is think about it in terms of broadly speaking, the end game, and that you're going to put your skills in different aspects of your game tree, right? So is it charisma? Is it strength? Is it intelligence? How do you develop your character sheet as you go through? And that at any point that you're looking at it going, oh, I'm not right for this, or I'm not there, you might not be right for it right now, but it might be the thing to get you those extra skill points to go on further. So, you're a work in progress at all points in life, even me right now. And I'd say that takes off a massive amount of pressure and, expectation from yourself and others, is to be like, I've just started the game. I'm not expecting to be at the end game. So, relieving that is key, I think, just to enter your best foot forward. Humility, honesty, authenticity.
That's good advice for anybody at any stage in life.
Yeah.
And that's why we love you, Joey.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We can start popping some questions in. Let's see what we've got. Oh, we've got one already from Miles. Thank you so much. In the world of CA, is there a certain level of gaming knowledge you need in order to start a career within the company?
Is there a certain? I mean, no.
Yeah, it's yes and no.
It depends where you're going, right?
Yeah, it depends where you're going.
If you're going into HR, not necessarily. What you need to know is the principles of that. If you're going into QA, it's good to know, broadly speaking, the games that you're going into, but you're not playing them as a player, you're playing them to break them, to find those holes. If you're doing marketing, you don't need to play them, you need to understand what it is that the game is going for. So I'll use an example here for one of the trailers that I did, worked on with the cinematic team. So our cinematics team is amazing. Do they play the game necessarily all day, every day? No. Do they know exactly how to use the models to the best ability in the engine and the cinematic tools to create a great trailer to sell the product with us? Yes. So it very much depends on the camp that we're sitting in. But for me, yes, I'm a Total War player. Yes, I'm a Warhammer player. And that's fortunate, but that's not necessary. We did a trailer for a DLC called The Warden and the Paunch. Feel free to have a look on YouTube later. But essentially, when we were having a brainstorm around it, I was like, or collectively, we went, Batman meets Mad Max. And that's an element of the trailer. Now, we're not infringing on any copyrights or IP rules or anything like that, but the vibe I wanted to get across to the wider audience was, this guy's a bit like Batman, and these guys are nuts like Mad Max. Mash that together and get some fun out of it. So, like, do you need to know everything about the game, about, levels of gaming knowledge? No, but it helps.
Yeah, I think having an awareness and appreciation for the craft and the amount of creativity and passion that goes into making games. I think even when people come into the HR team or they join a finance function, they don't go, oh, but I'm not a gamer. It's like, but that's okay. Because when you come into the studio, you'll see what it's like, and you might be totally blown away by watching somebody animate something like, a giant spider, or like a doom wheel. Like there is, you will see that and you will be drawn into it. And games are like, like wine. You just keep trying one until you find one that you like, and playing whatever game doesn't legitimize your status as calling yourself a gamer. If you like playing games, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, you don't have to be a hardcore Game of Miles to come and join. Come join. I've got another question. Got Matthew. Working in the games industry, have you ever felt burnt out from playing games as a hobby due to you working on them?
No. If only because I'm a mood-based person. There are times that I want to play something that is super collaborative, like I want to pick up World of Warcraft and do a raid with 20 people. There are times that feels exhausting, and I want to go play Fallout 4 in the desert by myself, listening to some old-timey 50s tracks. So I've not felt burnt out from games necessarily, but it's definitely, when life and work gets a little bit stressful, my hobby, I suppose, is Warhammer and painting. That can be quite all-encompassing. That can be quite, physically demanding, in that I'm kind of sat there hunched over like Gollum, having a paint. So, there have been times that I haven't really wanted to pick that up and invest that time. But generally speaking, you know, I'm quite an avid gamer and always have been. I played every Pokemon game in existence, for instance. So.
Yeah. I mean, I can't feel this bit of my thumb from pressing the B button on the joypad from a Sega Master System. I think that goes away how old I really am. But yeah, I think, I say just to sort of, everybody plays different kinds of games, and the games that we make are quite time intensive. But you can't beat a bit of Untitled Goose Game if you or Peggle if you just want to have a bit of a zone out as well. So
cheap Tetris, like.
Yeah, but Tetris, you know, I mean, it's made sure that everything in my house is perfectly tessellated. So
I'm also a mobile gamer as well, so there's various degrees of gaming. You know, I've sat here and played Toon Blast to level 2000, as well as playing really in-depth games. So really depends, isn't it?
Yeah, so we say it's about finding those richness of games. I hope that answers your question, Matthew. And we've got another one from Dawn. They would like to know what kinds of careers in the games industry would a psychology degree help with? What kind of postgraduate training do you look for? Wow, Dawn, let me tell you, psychology is absolutely on the up in our industry. I'll tell you why. Is UX research. We want to know how our players think. We want to understand how they tick, and we have a department that's growing and building at the moment. In fact, there are job descriptions on this that you can go and have a look on our website on, so you can see what kind of things we're looking for. You can apply psychology to that because the way we make our games is cyclical. We don't just decide what we're going to do. We look at what our players want and how they play, and that feeds into the development process. So
as well as marketing, like it's a good one to understand the motivations and psychology of people, to kind of know how to broaden out the audience and the kind of eyeballs looking at your stuff. I mean, even Emma, you said UX and testing. So, I mean, look at the screen that we've got here. Look at the buttons on the left-hand side. Look at the chat. Look at the way this page is laid out. To know and to be able to do focus testing, research on the UI elements of our game and how to better make that work for a general user, that kind of stuff is key.
Yeah, and it was something that I noticed was emerging quite a long time ago, actually, in some of the American studios and perhaps some of the other publishers as well, especially places like Valve, where psychology is definitely something that's on the up. But actually, we value all different areas and backgrounds. I mean, I wanted to be Indiana Jones back in the day. My degree is religious studies and Indian philosophy. Whilst that doesn't quite relate to what I do now, it really helped me be empathetic and really curious and understanding of different cultures and different ways different people think. And that's really valuable when you work with people. So it did actually play into it. But we've got game designers that were actually landscape gardeners. We had one of our amazing lead designers on one of our Total War projects was actually a management consultant before they came to create Assembly.
One of them was an engineer as well. The DLC director used to be a technical engineer and is now utilising that engineering knowledge base to understand the kind of interconnecting parts of, you know, the game, the engine, the design, all of it. So, you know, you can apply yourself with anything that you do here. There's always a space and a place for it, I would say.
Yeah, and so with journalism as well, we've got a few people that have sidestepped from journalism to come into games, and they've ended up being, you know, a leading our Warhammer title. We've got the person that actually came through PC Gamer, as a journalist there, through to one of our lead technical programmers worked in robotics. So, and they were making robots for all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So it's about how you apply your passion and your knowledge to be able to wield it and flip it and change it to really make it suit where you're at. So we talk quite a lot about that in different panels at different universities and different areas. So do follow us so you can see where we're speaking next. about how you can tease some of that stuff out, and how you can really craft your CV around showing that, yeah, I know this stuff, but I know this stuff, and this is how it would work with what you're looking for in that job description. Then let me show you. And then when you have an interview, then you can really talk about that. And then hopefully you should get the job. And I will give you your scarf back.
Yep.
I'm not a magpie.
There's another question in the chat there, Emma. Question is there anything in particular you look out for in CVs and other specific skills you'd like to see?
The main thing that I look out for in CV is just for it to be really easy to read. Yeah. Formatting is so important. Don't worry about doing that little thing with dots down the side, saying, you know, I have 5 dots, whether you're good at something or not. Don't worry about that. Just tell us what you're good at. That's fine. But the formatting is, and making it easy for us to read, is like really important. If you can talk about your transferable skills as well. So I know that you're in university, you've done your degree. Lots of people have done your degree, but what makes you stand out? What is it? Is it your extracurricular stuff? Have you been a part of a game society? Have you been a part of like a debating team? Are you volunteering somewhere? Have you taken part in game jams? If you have, put that stuff down. Like, give us a link to some of the stuff that you're doing. Use the cover letter to really talk about who you are and what's made you want to apply for the role as well. So the CV will talk about, you know, the skills that you have, but what is the extra nuance of you in there? How do we see you? You know, do we see the thing where you've got hobbies and interests, you know, cinema and going out with my mates? So yeah, but what else?
So entertainment and absorbing that structural based storytelling device. You know, stuff like that can, even if you do just like your basic, I like reading and I like movies and I like TV, great. But what you really love then is how to best tell a story, how to, you know, visually depict that, and you're a big consumer of it. There's ways in which to kind of apply your interest to something that is suited towards the job you're going for, even if it is entertainment. And
say, you know, you might be a part of, or you might have formed a society that's like the horror movie society.
Yep.
Well, you know, if you're going to work at a studio or playing at a studio that's going to make a horror based game, then that's going to stand out, because they're going to be able to ask you about that particular element in your CV, and it will make all the difference. I promise it will. And so there are CV clinics as well when we go out to shows, and hopefully we should have an online show later on in the year. We can talk you through your CV and give you some pointers on those as well. So all is lost there. Just like to see if we've got any more questions.
Any more final questions? If you want to pop them in the Q&A section or the chat.
We've got 9 minutes left, so let's ring this 9 minutes out for its life.
Otherwise, we're going to end up randomly chatting about some
Pokemon.
Got to catch them.
That's what we're going to end up talking about. Pokemon. What's your favourite Pokemon, Joey?
I'm going to get, sorry, Sega legal.
They're going to be like, what? Who is it?
And it's Eevee for its transitionary nature.
It's always got to be the Squirtle.
Right. It's always a contentious topic, this one.
Is it though? I mean, I'm not even going to talk about chocolate caterpillar cakes, because then you know, it'll be coming out all over the place. Just looking through at some more of the comments, yeah, but a duvet at a desk is a goal. I did not know I needed a duvet in a workplace, but I do now. Matthew, absolutely.
Well, we've got a question from Matthew on what career paths can media film lead in your company. So, Gengar, nice. Cinematics. So our cinematics department do not only our in-game movies, of which there's a kind of in-game cinematic team. There's also a kind of a cinematic team that works with me directly within the marketing. So we work together collaboratively to make full-on trailers. So as I say, have a look at the YouTube channel for Total War and have a look at the Warhammer DLC trailers, the Total War Warhammer 3 trailers. Like, we're directly involved with crafting, carving out, storyboarding, everything that you see there. So every aspect of that, they not only, if you're into storyboarding, if you're into, you know, you're really good at lighting, and we've got our own tools that work with our game engine, because what we want is to be representative of the game players are going to be playing. So for Warhammer 3, you'll notice there's a CGI trailer. So that's a huge project with a film industry level company that work with us to create a massive trailer. Our one is cool, and I worked on the music as well as the visuals, not crafting them myself, but I'd go, see that guy with that shield? Don't like that, move that. Have the shot come in this way instead. Right, I want the music to be like this. So, you know, there's a massive creative involvement you can have either in the marketing sphere. I'm a big consumer of film and TV, or creating it itself.
Yeah, and I think that there's such a blend now between games and film that the quality is almost on par. And also the level of expectation from our consumers, our players, is to everything to be as high quality and as immersive as a film can be as well. But so there's something else as well that I've noticed, especially over the millions of years that I've been, you know, roaming Creative Assembly.
Total war roaming. Sorry,
yeah, war roaming. I like it. There's just roles that just emerge and become a thing, and you know, like social media and creating assets for social media just was not a job when I started in the games industry, and it's a massive department now. And also we even go out and film when people are making the game to create content for that as well. There's so much, Matthew. There really, really is. There's so much that you can do. So it's a really, really exciting time. Another question. Does career at CA allow for international travel post-COVID, of course?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, as I would love to travel and showcase what CA have to offer to other countries.
Oh, Emma, I can take this one. I've gone to so many places. As a community manager, I went to Germany, Cologne for Gamescom. I've gone to Boston for PAX. I've gone to Melbourne for PAX Oz. I've gone to China as a brand manager to work with another partner. We do lots of travel because we are inclusive. We are also, you know, as part of Sega, who are a Japanese company, it's important for us to be a global business, not just a UK-based studio. We're a global industry. So absolutely, yes.
Yeah, you can globetrot to your heart's content. Even in my team, where we'd be able to go out to events. We go from Malta to Austria to around the UK, all sorts of different places to speak to talent, because you know, amazing talent can come from anywhere, and we want to be able to reach as many people as we can. So yeah, international travel is definitely a thing for us when everything's safe and we're able to do that. I've got another question from Dawn. Love you, Dawn. Do you have to be able to use a range of programs for composing video game music in the company? A lot of programs are too expensive for me to use regularly.
We have an audio team.
Yeah, we've got a full-on audio team. Everything's provided there, but I think that the main thing that the team are looking for is your creativity rather than your ability to use those software packages particularly. Having a familiarity is good, but it's no point knowing the whole suite of packages if you haven't got the creativity or a really great ear for it to be able to apply it, because that's the thing that we can bring out, but we can't teach you because you inherently will have that, but we can show you how to use that software.
Yeah, software skills and tech can be learned easily, but it's about that knowledge and understanding of what you're trying to achieve. Where's the end goal for you? But how you get there, you can skin a cat many different ways. Excuse the phrase.
Yeah, no real cat skinning going on at Creative Assembly. We love cats, but just to say, it just goes back to the analogy where Joey used about, you know, the character sheet. You're going to be leveling up. You're going to be climbing up the ladder. As long as you've got that strong foothold, and we can guide you through that, then that's absolutely the kind of thing that we would like to have predominantly demonstrated in your application. So I hope that's helped.
We've got one about a science student wanting to work in developing games. So I think, in terms of science, it depends on what type of science that you're obviously looking at. But, you know, let's talk about stuff like, you know, physics. How does a cape move realistically? How do you animate that? How do you do a magic spell where it's affected by the weather around it? Engineering, how does this part of the game and code connect to all the 15 other bits that you've done in the past, because you need a consumer to be able to buy this one, but they also bought 3 more, so how do they connect? So it's really about that application, and there's typically usages everywhere, especially when it comes to like movement, motion capture, all of this stuff.
Yeah, and I say it's also with computer science, but it's understanding how the world around you, how that cause and effect can be really valuable when making games. Because so we're making a world that has to be believable for our players to be able to disappear into and feel like they're having this amazing experience. So yeah, like science is absolutely something that we value. And say it's the magic spells for sure, but even if it's something as simple as, you know, the trajectory of an arrow flying through the air in a battle, that's important to us. And also thinking about how an environment can grow and look as well over time when you look at some of the campaign maps for Total War. So it's so important. So
Alien Isolation as well, right? So how does zero gravity work and then come back into play? Like how do those things come together? So all of that someone has to figure out. And
even the acid dripping and melting from the alien down through the shafts, you know, thinking about how that would work, how some of our visual effects as well would work. So our visual effects are in real time, as opposed to film where you might do it frame by frame. Ours is in real time, so they work with the programming team to think about how would that actually happen? How is it realistic? So
we've got a mocap question there, Emma. Are there opportunities in that sector? We've got a new mocap studio recently now.
Yes, we have. Yeah, our mocap team are small, but they're really happy to answer questions. And over time, we might be able to do some sessions as well, where you would be able to have come in and have a look at our motion capture studio as well. So keep following us, speak to your course leaders, and see what might happen. But yes, mocap technicians are a thing. Say it's a small team at CA. They don't come up very often, but we do advertise for them. Yes, it would be a dream. It's a brilliant unit. It's bespoke and it's beautiful and it's easy to get to as well.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Oh my God, that hour disappears. That went.
We can talk, Emma.
We can talk. We can talk. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming along and your brilliant questions. It's been lovely to get to know you. Do follow us on social media, but also come add us on LinkedIn. And hopefully we shall see some of you again soon. I'm going to be hopping on over to the booth in a bit and go over and meet some other brilliant people from Creative Assembly. And I shall see you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye, and I shall speak to you soon. Bye.